How's it going, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Prodigy and welcome to another video on the channel. Today guys, we're going to be talking about another Tetsuya Nomura interview. This is an interview that takes place after ReMIND, actually, that was released for the 1-year anniversary for Kingdom Hearts 3. This one does contain spoilers for Kingdom Hearts 3 ReMIND, but you probably shouldn't be clicking on this video if you didn't expect as much, but this is your warning. Similar to what happened before ReMIND, where we got the 7 questions of light from co-director Tetsuya, we have the 13 questions of darkness from Tetsuya Nomura. Now the stuff with Tetsuya does have a little bit of different wording in it, but I decided not to cover that. I'm specifically going to be covering the part with Tetsuya Nomura right now, because I feel like the ones with Tetsuya were kind of just general knowledge we already knew about pretty much. But in this video, this is a lot of new stuff. I haven't read everything yet, I only skimmed over it, but it seems like he talks about some pretty interesting stuff here, so let's get right into it. Question 1. What is the difference between ReMIND and Final Mix, which had been released for the previous mainline Kingdom Hearts titles? The Final Mix versions were released in order to adjust the overall game balance, as well as add new content to the base games. On the other hand, ReMIND is comprised of content that is somewhat separate from the base game and designed to be enjoyed after completing it. That said, Final Mix staple add-ons such as the option for English voice acting in the Japanese version, unfortunately, and limited cut bosses will be included in ReMIND, so it can be considered as not so different from a Final Mix, with the one exception that no major tweaks have been made to the main game. Not gonna lie, that was one thing I was a little surprised about, because I was expecting this pretty much to be like a Final Mix, but of course just more, and they did do more than they did for normal Final Mixes, a little bit more, but I was surprised that the main game wasn't touched that much at all. I mean, in a sense it was, because your base combos as Sora will already make your main playthrough, I won't say significantly different, but it'll add a different feel to the combat. You get keyword transformations faster because you're doing more hits, and the combat speed in general is just a lot faster. So depending on the type of person you are, it can be significant or it can be just a minor tweak. But that's probably the biggest change they did to the main game, and they had to do that because the combos that you get in the main game now, or you get in the DLC now, you need them for those data fights, because I cannot imagine doing the data fights with the slow base Sora combos we had before. But yeah, this is pretty much comparable to a Final Mix of ReMIND, though they do add a lot more post-game content than any other Final Mix has previously. I mean, ReMIND is borderline all post-game content, so yeah. But moving along, what is the threshold in separating the content for the free version update and ReMIND, the premium DLC? We consider Kingdom Hearts 3 and ReMIND as different content. As such, we perceive the content of the free version update as part of Kingdom Hearts 3 itself, whereas the content from ReMIND will add new elements that take place after the main game. As I mentioned before, we will be including some elements that would have previously been made available in a separate Final Mix package as part of ReMIND. However, some of the content that would usually go into Final Mix Edition, such as new keyblades and extra abilities, have been provided in the free update as something to aim for when completing the main story. Now, that is something that I think is really cool, because for previous Final Mixes, you had to pay an extra $60 or wait 10 plus years for that if you were in other countries. But this time around with Kingdom Hearts 3, all the basic Final Mix stuff they add, like the patches, the new abilities, new keyblades, they put all of that in a free update, and Square Enix, I gotta applaud you guys for that one. That is such a great move. I love it. Thank you so much. But outside of that though, he pretty much just reiterated what he said in the first question. Moving along, is there not a possibility of a Kingdom Hearts 3 Final Mix release in the future? Additionally, might there be a physical version release? There are no specific plans at the moment. It's definitely going to happen in my opinion. We may take that into consideration if new platforms enter the market. Very, very interesting, new platforms, but we haven't given thought as to whether it would be released under the Final Mix name, even if it gets to that. That's kind of what I I figured that if they were to release another package for Kingdom Hearts 3, that they would call it Final Mix, including ReMIND, just to have that continuity there of like all the final mixes. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. ReMIND, Final Mix, same thing pretty much, right? Well, kind of. But I do hope they do it because I would love to have that collector's item. And if they released it for new platforms, even better. Where does the additional storyline of ReMIND fall on the story timeline? And what will we get to see in it? It jumps around the timeline in places, but the main series of events for Sora depicts what took place in the unrevealed time between the final battle of Kingdom Hearts 3 and the ending when Kairi was rescued. The player will have a more all-encompassing view of events than Sora himself does. So in ReMIND, Sora gets to follow the story from a detached and overarching perspective, unlike in the main game. It is a bit tricky to explain, but Kingdom Hearts 3 is a complete self-contained story in its own right, and the link through to the ending of ReMIND is only made possible because of the ending the main game has. Now, some people kind of critique the way ReMIND did its storytelling. I don't really mind it too much. I mean, to some people, it was the exact same thing, which it kind of was. You were retreading through Keyblade Graveyard events, but I feel like they made it different enough with the team attacks, new characters were able to pick, different cutscenes, all new dialogue. I mean, it was enough for me to make like retreading through those battles entertaining, and I definitely feel like there's more of like the new stuff in ReMIND than there is of the like old stuff of the retreading. It's definitely a close half and half, but I overall feel like ReMIND did a amazing job at adding all the new content, and the way they did the quote rewrite or redoing of Keyblade Graveyard was perfect in my opinion. I really loved it a lot. Going from the Mickey fight to the Riku fight to the Terra fight, Triple Xehanort fight, and not being able to play those again at all. Just Sora who doesn't have a corporeal form, or however they say the word. A time-traveling Sora just jumping around all those places without us being able to play. Like, I can see myself getting a little upset at that personally. Are there any impact or changes to the original storyline of Kingdom Hearts 3? There are no changes to the original storyline of Kingdom Hearts 3 and no impact on the player either, as they will start playing through ReMIND after they complete the base game. That said, there are several areas where I have made some amendments because I had abandoned a certain visual approach for various reasons, but really wanted to make the scene as it was originally intended, and these will be implemented with the version 1.07 update. Some specific examples of these would be such things as illustrating when a character incurs damage during a cutscene, or some of the skyscrape vistas. I don't know what he just said there, if I'm being completely honest with you. Someone can probably elaborate on that for me in the chat. Maybe that's a translation bug or something, but I don't really understand what he said. But it seems like they're just talking about like impacts or changes that happened to the main storyline, which it doesn't seem like that many things happened. They're really asking a lot of questions. They're really trying to confirm like, okay, how many changes were made to the base game, like story-wise, and it seems like there weren't that many at all. There were some cutscene changes though, however, like with the Kairi cutscene in the base game where Xehanort, you know, destroys Kairi. The whole sky in that background is different, and they did affect the CGI a little bit. They kind of tightened it up a little bit in the ending cutscene, which is really cool. So the changes they made were very minimalistic, but still pretty appreciated, and those were added in the 1.07 update, like he said. Ooh, a juicy question is up next. Why didn't any Final Fantasy franchise characters make an appearance in the base game? What is the aim in having them make an appearance in ReMIND? That's a really good question. We decided not to include them in the base game, since there is no need to visit the Radiant Garden from a storyline perspective. That's kind of what I was thinking. There were also some development related issues. In ReMIND, we felt that we needed to have Final Fantasy characters appear from a storyline perspective and decided to give them roles, all but minor roles, in response to the passionate desire from fans. We want players to feel that the Final Fantasy characters are part of the Kingdom Hearts 3 lore. So basically, he only really added Final Fantasy characters back because fans had a large outcry for it, which is perfectly fine. I'm glad they're listening to the fans on that one. I do feel like they were a little too harsh in a way on the Final Fantasy not being in Kingdom Hearts 3 thing, the community, but it's in now. Although it may be a very minimal role, it's still cool to have them in and see them and have them voice acted and just know that they still exist within the Kingdom Hearts world. But Nomura straight up just, he's reiterated this a couple of times, he straight up just didn't find a use for them in the main story, but he found a use for them in ReMIND, and that's beautiful. So I hope that the people who really wanted Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts 3 got what they wanted, and that they're at least like satisfied now. I know Cloud and Sephiroth weren't in, unfortunately, but hopefully this like satisfies people going into the next Kingdom Hearts game. What is the highlight of the limit cut bosses? Which character would you want players to keep an eye out for? I had already decided that the limit cut boss lineup would be comprised of the members of Rule Organization 13, but as the development progressed, I started to feel conflicted as whether to keep Xion as one of the bosses or not. However, by the time I mentioned my intentions of possibly removing Xion to Mr. Yosue, sorry if I'm saying the name wrong, she was already in development. With this background in mind, I'd like the players to experience their own inner turmoil when they take on Xion. She's quite a tough boss to beat. So Nomura considered not putting Xion in. That's crazy to me. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of us in the community were a little mixed on whether Xion would be a data fight or not, because Nomura seems to have had the same like turmoil that we kind of did. We were kind of like, is Xion really like a seeker of darkness? I mean, she barely fights you in the game, and just as quickly as she shows up as a seeker of darkness, she turns into a guardian of light, kind of. So it was kind of weird to think about that, but I'm overall glad they gave us a Xion boss, because now we get to listen to that great Vector to the Heavens OST that they made exclusively for our data fight, and also it's just really cool to have like Xion, you know, fightable in a game that's not Days. And she was pretty tough to beat. You initially mentioned adding in the equivalent of another world into the game, but there seems to have been a change in direction. There was actually a new world we wanted to add that we worked on planning and designing, but I personally cannot square the logic of cutting out just that world and adding it on later. I felt that it would ultimately be better to have it as a candidate for inclusion from the start in the next game. For ReMIND, I decided to go with adding in multiple new elements, which add up to a volume of new content that is actually greater than a single new world would be. Creating this many bosses was particularly hard work. I'd imagine they spent a lot of time on those bosses because they are amazing. It's interesting though, they cut a whole world. What was this world? It definitely couldn't have been Scala. I don't think they cut the entirety of Scala being a world. I feel like the world was barely intended to be a full explorable area. We got to explore it a little bit more in ReMIND, but since we did get to explore a little bit more of it in ReMIND, it seems like that's not what he's talking about here. But he said from the start of the next game, I don't know if he means next number title. He definitely doesn't mean Dark Road. Please do not mean Dark Road. Or if he means, you know, whatever the next console game is. I wonder if this was a Disney world or if this was a original world. Can you share some details regarding the secret boss and episode? I put my ideas of how the secret boss and episode will lead the way for the next installment into it, although it is probably not possible to work out what that will be from the details that have already been released, even though it might just look like you can. Additionally, some of the battle construction itself was quite different to what I ordered. I was surprised, and so decided to go down this route this time around. I loved the secret episode. I love the secret boss. I love the secret episode. I thought it was absolutely perfect. And depending on when this video is uploaded, I may or may not have uploaded a video completely rambling about that. It was just perfect. Everything regarding the secret episode was amazing, perfection. I loved it. Yozora is one of the coolest characters Kingdom Hearts has ever had. I don't care like about all the Versus 13 stuff necessarily, but I'm really interested in like what the idea would like have formed to be. There's just too much hype. There's so much hype surrounding this. I'm just a fanboy for Yozora and the secret episode at this point, and he perfectly had a segue into the next saga with that. That's all I'm going to say. The dialogue from the beginning of the first Kingdom Hearts game is in the final trailer. Can you tell us about this? Yeah, I want to hear about this as well. It was a piece of dialogue that I wanted to revisit and address if the opportunity to do so ever came around. It probably doesn't make any sense. It definitely doesn't, but at the time, the world of Kingdom Hearts was approved as a result of including that line. I don't know what that means. The mystery doesn't fully unravel with this, but I feel it brings us to the gateway. Nomura, you're just saying so much vague stuff, but I'm gonna be interested anyways. I'm very curious as to what that line like means and why Yozora is also saying it. Does it confirm the Yozora is a alternate Sora theory sort of thing? Does the line have a different meaning? Are they telling us Kingdom Hearts doesn't exist and this whole series was just Sora having a dream in Kingdom Hearts 1? I just don't know. Are you planning further updates and DLCs in the future? There are no expected updates planned as of now, but if something arises in the future, I believe we would work to address it. As far as DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3 goes, ReMIND will be the first and last. We have already moved on to the next project. Good. You guys have already started work on the next project. Great. I cannot wait. I don't know if that project is Dark Road or if it's something else. I mean, from what I heard, there's multiple teams working on the next few Kingdom Hearts games. It seems like Kingdom Hearts is gonna remain very busy in the future. Square's gonna remain very busy with the Kingdom Hearts franchise. 3 was not the end, unlike what a lot of people thought for some reason. Would you be able to share, if any, plans for the future of the Kingdom Hearts series? We will need some more time to make another traditional main series style Kingdom Hearts game, but there was a surprising announcement from the Kingdom Hearts Union Cross team last week. On top of that, we also have 2 new teams working on different projects separate from ReMIND and Union Cross, and one of those games is coming out earlier than you would think. Wink wink. The title screen for ReMIND lays some of the groundwork for it. So a new game regarding Kairi? Kairi, please, come on. I want a game talking about Kairi. We need a Kairi game. Can I start this movement right now? I want a game surrounding Kairi. She was so fun to play as in KH3. I love like most things about her combat. She was just awesome. And that boss that she was fighting was pretty good too. And then the 13th and final question. This has really been a long interview. After work on Kingdom Hearts 3 finished, several things happened and there was some internal restructuring. So I am very sorry to have kept everyone waiting longer than initially expected. In ReMIND, we have been proactive in adding in new elements that give players enjoyment from playing around and exercising their creativity. It is easy to be drawn to the story, but most of the time spent developing this expansion was actually focused on adding the new battles and mechanics changes, which I figured because they went in with the bosses and with the mechanics. We hope players really enjoy these kinds of merciless challenges that you can only really do as DLC. We also greatly expanded the sharing features of Kingdom Hearts 3, unlocking pretty much everything. Yosue has been saying that he wants to see everyone's secret boss battle videos, so we have opened that up as far as we can too. See if you can take these fearsome foes down. ReMIND is now available worldwide on PlayStation 4 and coming to Xbox One on February 25th. RIP Xbox. Have fun. Thank you, Nomura, for making this amazing game. You have managed to make my favorite game of all time, and I am even more confident in saying that after ReMIND has come out. Kingdom Hearts 3 is my favorite video game, and you made it. That's crazy. I cannot believe like how much I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3, how much I've enjoyed the journey leading up to Kingdom Hearts 3, how much I enjoyed the journey after Kingdom Hearts 3 leading into ReMIND, how much I'm enjoying ReMIND. I'm really just having a blast. Like this is one of the best gaming generations to have been a Kingdom Hearts fan. We got so much over just the past couple of years. Our community has grown so much over the past couple of years, and it's really just been amazing. Thank you, Nomura, and thank you to my lovely community for keeping me company throughout this entire journey. But that's going to about do it for today's video. Those were the 13 questions of darkness. Very edgy title for an interview, but makes sense. But if you enjoyed today's video though, leave a like, share the video with a friend or a family member, and last but not least, if you have not already and want to become a part of the union, all you have to do is hit that red little subscribe button down below. My name is Prodigy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out.